Hey, good day, Coach Bricks. I posted something and asked a question about how I got rid of my back stiffness. Now, 6 years ago, I had some horrible back pain, hip pain. I tell the story that, it would take me honestly sometimes upward of 5 minutes to get my foot, my right leg out of the car after driving. It was pretty severe. Most people couldn't figure out what was wrong. Certainly not the doctors and stuff like that told me surgery was the only thing. Well, I figured out how to get that fixed. Okay. Did some research on my own, did a lot of stuff on my own, did a lot of testing on my own, which I do before I give to anybody, and it fixed it up. But I've always had this back stiffness. Nothing crazy, but when I wake up in the morning, it's stiff. Okay, and I know a lot of people in this world go through this, so I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people that complain about it. And then if I used to stand for long periods of time, my back would become stiff. I figured out how to actually get rid of that. And it's crazy. It goes against everything everybody ever told me. Once again, everything it seems like I've been taught is actually incorrect, or the majority of it's incorrect. I shouldn't say everything, but the majority of it. So I was always told, hey, you need to stretch. That's what will help lengthen the muscles out, all this kind of stuff. I did all that. I did yoga for a short period of time, and then that wasn't for me. But I did all those things that everybody tells you to do, right? The stretching, all those things. Yet my back still would bother me. Yes, when I stretched it out for a little bit, it felt better. A little bit of time. But it didn't matter how much stretching I did, whether I did in the morning, night, a couple times the other day, I still had this stiffness. Well, the more research I started to do and the more understanding, and probably about a year ago, started to dive into it and just briefly diving into it over the last couple months, I've dove into a lot more, was maybe what I'm doing is wrong. And I started to look at human beings and started looking at young people. And this is where I normally go. I try to think of where God placed us, how God placed us, and does he really seriously want us to have this kind of discomfort and pain through our whole life if we follow his protocol that he wants for us? And I know this will probably blow some people up and get people mad, and they won't agree with it because of whatever, because their doctor told them not to, and they're going to follow what the doctor says because he studied things for 20 years or whatever. But you have to start thinking different. And this is how I started doing it. When I started to think about God and I started to think about our ancient ancestors. When you're young, okay, when you're a kid, nobody really complains of back pain. You don't, right? You move around, you're free to go, boom, boom, boom. But then everybody says as you age, it's because you age and your muscles get tight or you're just old that you have these pains. Well, I thought, okay, well, what kept me limber? What kept me moving? And it was the sprinting, it was the jumping, it was the crazy movements, the rolling and tumbling, all this kind of stuff. That kept me moving. Now, that's going to contradict, everybody telling you that as you age, you got to slow down. You got to just stretch. You got to do some strength training. You got to do some yoga. You got to do all this stuff. But what they don't take into account is what I'm going to tell you right now, and that's the fascia. Okay. As we start to learn more and more about fascia, and I start to dive into it more, the more I'm baffled by how much stuff has been mistold to me, mistaught to me, and how much we as a society have zero clue of how to do things. I mean, it's honestly, even in this profession, the strength profession, very few people talk about it. Very few people train it because they don't understand it or they brush it off. And I understand there for a while, it really wasn't big. But everybody tells you, oh, go lift heavy weights. I'm not against lifting heavy weights. I think every person on the earth should lift heavy weights. But I'm also saying that's not the only thing you should do. You need to be able to move and move explosively. That's what got me out of this pain. I started to do exercise that were explosive and rebound type movements. And guess what? My back pain is not there. I can get up off my couch now. And it doesn't take me 3 or 4 steps to actually stretch out. I can get out of my car, not have the pain. I can stand up in my facility, not have these issues. I wake up out of bed, I'm ready to go. It's amazing. I did everything that they told me not to do, the explosive stuff. And that's the stuff that worked. Why? Because fascia likes to be moved explosively. That's what it is. How it hydrates. Yes, you have to take certain things in, certain nutrients, collagen, and things of that nature. But fascia likes its explosive rotational movement. Stuff that they tell you stop to do. When you get older and you get out of sports, don't do any rotational stuff. Not everybody says that, but a lot of people do. And lift this heavy stuff. And we're staying these sagittal planes. We got deadlift, squat, and bench. You got to do those things. Nope, sorry. Not you don't have to do those things. You have to understand what a human being is. And you have to understand how we were put here. We're not here to be monstrous people looking all thrown up with all these muscles, right? Because that moves slow. I don't care how big you are, and you say, well, these guys are in the NFL, look how fast they move. Eventually their bodies break because they can't withstand that. Now, great, it got them through the NFL, made them millions of dollars, okay? But then all of a sudden they have all these pains and discomforts. Boom, they're paying all this money to take care of that body because of how they treated it. I don't want that. And for the majority of people, we don't make pros. Okay, the majority of people are not playing professional sports. Majority of people are trying to live a longer life, pain and disease free. And that's what I'm trying to teach you is how to get there. Doing it through natural movements, doing it through natural things, not through all this gimmicky crap of, well, pop this prescription to get rid of it. Because that's not getting rid of it. That's masking the pain. You have to understand how your body works and how it was designed by God. Not designed by me, not designed by some scientist, not designed by some professor at your school, designed by God. And we're missing that. We're not taking that into account. We don't. God told us to live uncomfortable. It's just a fact. If he wanted us to live in these mansions or these beautiful houses we live in the United States, guess what? He would have put them here before we were here. But he didn't. He told us to live amongst the land, cultivate the land. Right? I mean, honestly, I'm not against people living in houses, but I'm against the lack of movement. I'm against this backwards thinking of how we're supposed to move. As you age, slow down. Slow down. You might hurt. You're only going to hurt yourself if you stop doing the things that have made you so productive throughout your life. I feel more energized when I do all my exercises that are explosive. Yet I'm older now than 6 years ago when I had all the back and hip pain, when I was all broken because I was trying to lift heavy. I was trying to do all the things they told me to do. Nope, sorry, it didn't work. And it's not going to work. Can some people get away with it? Yes, anybody can get away with certain things. But the majority of people, you need to continue to train like you're playing a sport. Now, do you have to go to that extreme 2 hours a day, all that kind of stuff? No. You can make a program up in 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and get that explosiveness in and feel phenomenal. And then still get your strength training in for the other 30 minutes. And it's amazing what you do. And you do it 3-4 times a week. It's unreal. But people need to start listening. People need to start understanding. Look at it through the eyes, okay, of God. He made this temple. This is the temple right here, the body, correct? It houses the soul. It houses the Holy Spirit. It's inside of us. It needs to be taken care of, but it needs to be taken care of properly. How he designed it. Do the right type of food, the right type of movement, the right type of being outside, the right type of understanding the energy that he's given us. He's given it to us. He put that Holy Spirit inside of us for a reason. And yet most of us destroy it because we don't take care of this physical thing that can help protect it. Yes, the Holy Spirit's phenomenal, but it lives inside of us. We have to start thinking differently when it comes to our health. We have to start thinking differently when it comes to our movement. Why we have pain, why we don't have pain. Like I said, if I followed the prescription that I was taught in school, that I paid all that money for, and continue to follow the prescription that most of these strength coaches tell you to do, and personal trainers and doctors and all the other medical stuff, I would still be in pain. I would still be here stretching, trying to get through the day, having all this pain. Dude, I honestly, the last month, 2 months, I feel phenomenal. I do not have that stiffness in my back anymore. It's amazing. And I'm going to talk about something else in another video about how I also changed from destroying my legs to understanding what the main engine of the body is, what main muscle group actually is the engine of the whole body. And when you get this to fire correctly, which I know for a fact the majority of people do not do. Why? Because they come into my facility, and when I test them, they have no idea how to turn this muscle on or how to get it to fire properly. And they're overutilizing another muscle. But I'm going to talk about that in another one. But getting back to the fascia is the key. And if you don't understand fascia, then reach out or start looking some information up. There are people doing some good work on fascia. And I'm telling you, the more you understand, the more we're doing it incorrectly. I'm telling you, we are just doing it incorrectly. We were not made to be these massive beings. We were made as hunters and gatherers, being able to sprint explosively. Being strong does not mean being big. We're supposed to be strong and explosive as well. Supposed to be mobile. Our mobility comes from our movement. You don't have to take all these stretching and yoga classes. If you move properly, guess what? You're doing the things you need to do, and the body's going to respond in a positive manner. Now, you don't do things properly. Yes, you need yoga, you need stretching, you need everything else out there because your body's so broken and so messed up. But if you do the things right, the body knows how to take care of itself. And that's what I want you to learn. I want to teach you that. I want you to understand that. God designed us perfectly. We screw it up. We, as human beings, screw it up by our lack of movement, our not understanding how much sitting is destroying us, and even standing is destroying us. Just standing, why I have a stand-up desk. Okay, you're not moving. That means you're still in a static state. That's not good for the human body. The body likes to move. It loves movement. I remember when I get up and talk, and people said, "You need to stand still. You can't move." Everybody says, "Well, you're nervous. You have ADD." Well, so no, that's exactly how the body is. And when you take a kid and you say it's ADD when he's a movement kid, how do you know? That's how the body's designed. Yes, I understand kids of today are more sedentary than ever because we give them tablets and phones and stuff. That's not how human beings are. Start thinking how human beings live. Stop listening to all the medical people that tell you differently. If they understand how humans live, then guess what? You don't need to be on all prescriptions all the time. You don't need to have surgery all the time. The body heals. It constantly heals. It heals and adapts. Only thing it knows is survival, heal, adapt. I say it all the time. And people look at me like I have 18 freaking heads. The ones who do understand it, I got you. And then they get better without the surgeries, without all the medication, without all that. I had a buddy who listened to me on one of his things. They wanted to do surgery on his knee. He didn't get it. He listened to me, got better. He then had a back issue. I said, don't get it. We'll move a thing. He didn't want to wait. He got back surgery and was all jacked up. I can't guarantee that I'm God because I'm not God. Okay, but I can't guarantee that, guess what? That you're going to get better all the time. But if you do it naturally and you follow the path that God's intended for us, there's a darn good shot that you're going to get better. So it's up to you. This is how I rid myself of that horrible stiffness. And if you have that stiffness, reach out because I know the majority of Americans do. They might lie to you and tell you they don't, but they do. They get up out of a chair and they're like, you know what I mean? They feel fine once they start moving, interestingly enough. But getting up, I dealt with the same thing and got rid of it. And now, like I said, I feel phenomenal. Totally different. All right? Listen, reach out. Have yourself a blessed day. God bless you and take care.